Okay, beautiful people of YouTube. Let's get this show on the road. Okay, today we are going to be going over the spoilers for chapter 1089 of One Piece. And then if we have a little bit of time before I have to go to work, I will be watching and reacting to some videos. I will not be showing my face because I had to move again and I haven't had time to set up my camera and I don't know where to put it. So, yeah, this is how we're going to do this video for today. Now, spoilers, brief spoilers by Pew. Thank you, Pew, for the spoilers this week. Title, hijacking and holding incident. I think I saw something different on Twitter about what the name of the chapter is going to be, but you know, we'll see when the chapter actually drops what the name is. Referring to the Straw Hats gang taking hostage and holding Egghead Island, which makes sense. We get people reacting to the news about Garp in the newsletter. There's news about disasters occurring around the world. That's crazy how they already put that in the newspaper. So what I'm guessing is that all this information is getting told to, all this information is already happening at the point where we saw Big News Morgans and Vivi and Wapol. I'm guessing that he already got all this news, or it's all happening at the same time, so he's getting the messages all at the same time pretty much. We get stuff about disappearance of Lucia. There's a giant hole where the Lucia Island to be. The sea level around it are elevated. Sea levels around it is elevated, which is a weird, like it's higher, but there's a hole there. So I guess this gives more fuel to the theory that the gates is where the One Piece could be, quote unquote, or that's where God Valley is, where the hole is, and then they just put a different island floating on top, whatever. That feels that fire right there. We return to Egghead Island, and a lot of vice admirals are coming with Kuzan and Saturn. There's a discussion about how to block all exits from Egghead. Wow, a lot of vice admirals. So probably each Straw Hat's going to be able to fight a vice admiral, which will mean if we even get that far, I don't think we're gonna get. I don't think it's gonna get to that point. Because also people are thinking that Blackbeard is on his way to Egghead as well, which would give the Straw Hats a great opportunity to flee the scene. There's a small flashback with Vegapunk, Satomaru, and Kizaru. Okay. I wonder what that flashback could be. It could be like a discussion they all had about something of this nature, because why would he flash back to him if it wasn't something that had to do with him potentially being captured by the Marines and having to flee or get to a safe haven in some capacity. At the end of the chapter, York calls the Gorosei and says, "Save me from Luffy," and we see a double page spread of the Straw Hats. That's fire. We haven't seen the Straw Hats in so long, so it's a good it'll be a good, comeback chapter of the Straw Hats, and to see what's going on with them. I kind of do miss what's going on with the rest of the world, because it was nothing but gas. That I can't stress it enough. It was nothing but gas when it came to what was happening outside of Egghead Island. So can't wait for that. And that's it for the spoilers. Let's go through some of these comments. For those who are saying that Enies Lobby is God Valley, it is impossible. God Valley disappeared only 38 years ago, and Enies Lobbies already existed for 50 years ago, when Omamu and Kashi went there to be the guards. Enies Lobby's front gate. Thank you. Okay. See, it's little details like that make you remember things, like, be like, oh, okay, so it's low-key impossible. The Mother of Flame must be some have some limitations in its use, because it seems that Vegapunk replicated the power of the ancient weapon. That's still debatable, because is it really the power of an ancient weapon? Giant hole like Enies Lobby. Get ready to hear the 10,000. Hear this 10,000 times. Also, how did the sea level rise? Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. Like, how did the sea level rise if there's a hole there? But it could be like Enies Lobby, like, too, because it could just be air pressure pushing up, and that's why an island can pretty much sit on top of a gaping hole. So that could be the reasoning. Who knows? Hopefully, who knows? Odo's probably not even gonna go further into that, so we may never know what's going on with that. Let's see. Two options. It's One Piece, my dude. Islands have their individual climates that can be changed by different users. Robots and machines can run on cola, and a whole internal daylight at Enies Lobby exists. The current at Reverse Mountain runs uphill. The knock-up stream shot part of an island into a cloud island, onto cloud islands. You're really questioning this. That's a fact. The weirder stuff has happened in One Piece for us to be questioning that. But also, like you gave examples and reasonings, everything except for the knock-up stream. Nobody knows why the knock-up stream does what the knock-up stream does. But you gave perfect explanations. There's perfect explanations for those things. But we don't know if, the sea level rise, because it could have pushed it in the ground and raised the earth around where it was, so it could have raised the sea levels a little bit as well. Like I said before, air pressure. There's just no explanation yet of how this happened and the One Piece science behind it. But that's a very good reasoning. Like we're questioning something as minuscule as that, when there's way weirder and way more I would say unusual things that have happened, and that is a natural occurrence in One Piece. All right, now the big flash of light didn't erase Eni's lobby, it sank it. But something is preventing the hole from where it's pushed down from filling in with water, causing massive water displacement. That's true. That could be true too. Like, it could have just pushed it all the way to the bottom of the sea and created a little air dome for it. We don't know. They could have. Vegapunk could have said that this was a weapon of mass destruction and it was going to disintegrate like a whole island and destroy it and make a massive hole into the bottom of the ground. But what if it cocooned the island and put it in like a bubble, like they had to use to cover the ship to get to Fisherman Island, and it's not filling up because it's a dome now. It's like a big dome. That could be something that could have happened. These are very, very good like points. Like, you know, usually you get a lot of, you know, just One Piece enthusiasts that just don't really have their own opinion on here, and it's really refreshing to get good ideas and read good like opinions. LMAO, imagine if the One Piece is actually down in Eni's lobby and the Going Merry actually fulfilled its promise. I saw that earlier. That would be cool. That is actually like one of the biggest theories in One Piece, is that it's under there, and that you know what I mean, that the Merry fulfilled its dream that nobody knew yet. So, but like, you know, we still have 4 more years to get through this. So let's not rush to the One Piece just yet. Community. Okay, back to Egghead. Back to Egghead. Let's go see Straw Hats. Oda. Nope. Let's see the big hole in the Lucia. What? Yeah, for real. Like, we get like that from what the spoilers are saying. It's like the last couple pages we're actually gonna see the Straw Hats. So it's like okay, we come back from a break, we're gonna see the Straw Hats, but then we're gonna have to go on a magazine break. So like, it is nuts that this is actually happening right now. So it's like, okay, we get just a taste of the actual Straw Hats. So I get where this guy is coming from, this person's coming from. It's just hilarious. That's funny how it feels to live in Kingdom Lucy. That is hilarious. I was already said the last time we had spoilers that there will be a WSJ break, weekly Shonen Jump break. Yeah, I figured. I haven't seen. Well, we didn't have One Piece for like over a month. So like, but even since, so like, I haven't seen a Shonen Jump break in a while, so I figured we weren't due for one. So I'm not really upset about this. Kind of upset about this, but not really. Like, it gives Oda more time to think about what's going on. Plus, we have the live action coming out soon, and the reveal of Gear 5th in anime form. So we have a very busy month of One Piece this month, so we can't even, as fans, be upset about that much this at all. Now I think that's enough. Let's go to YouTube. And watch some theories. Grab my headphones. Okay, Gear 5th breaks. Okay, yeah, let's see what Tekken has to say. This is only a 23-minute video. This is like the shortest video.
I created LA clothing in 2018. Actually used April. And one of the things I really...
Welcome back, everybody.
Tekken, this is probably the shortest Tekken.
101 here today to present to you the strongest generation of the Yonko that have ever sailed the 7 seas. First, we have Kaido, the strongest being if you fight him on land, sea, or air. Then we have Big Mom, the strongest being if you ever fight her inside of a bakery or perhaps a pie factory. Then we have Luffy, the strongest being if you fought him inside of a meatery or a steakhouse. Yeah, steakhouse is better. Yeah, God help you if you ever run into Luffy inside of a steakhouse. Like, you're gonna lose already, but now it's just like it's personal. And then finally, the last member of this hypothetical Yonko group, he just towers over the other 3. We have Barry, and he's strong no matter where you fight him. Look around you. Odds are there's probably some type of brickwork around you right now, unless you're just living in a tree, in which case that might be your safe. But other than that, no. Eventually you're going to run afoul of some kind of brick or clay, and then Barry's got you. All right? Okay. Well, there's some crazy stuff going right now in the One Piece anime. I don't know if you've noticed, but we finally reached Gear 5th. Like, it's happening. Luffy got, boom, KO'd, grand slammed by Kaido. He's on the ground. He's dead. Luffy's dead. No! The series just ends right there. Dude, the anime could have really played up that angle. They could have just had Luffy on the ground. Kaido comes down from the roof and he's just like, Luffy is dead. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And then, like, the anime could have had, like, a 5-episode clip show of, like, remembering Monkey D. Luffy, the protagonist. Tune in next time, everybody, because the new protagonist of One Piece is Kaido. We're gonna watch Kaido take over the world and go on a bunch of dragon adventures. Okay, you know what? Like, the great thing about One Piece is I would watch that. I would watch. Oh, Luffy's dead now. All right, so I guess we just follow Kaido now, dropping Onigashima right there on the Flower Capital and ruling the world with an iron fist. I'm actually fascinated on seeing, like, Kaido facing off against the world government, how he would structure everything. Yeah, let's see that. Let's follow that. But no, Gear 5th is happening, and it's been well over a year now since we got Gear 5th in the manga. That was a crazy time when that was happening. Obviously, since, you know, if you're an anime only watcher and you don't read the manga at all, I feel like it would still have been very difficult to avoid spoilers on this one. In fact, I saw a thing that in Japan they actually, like, made a crop circle of Luffy's Gear 5th, like, out in the open, and so that was like an advertising thing. So, like, just imagine if you're an anime only watcher in Japan and you're just walking by, like, a cornfield or something. It's like, oh, come on! I can't even go out for a walk. walk in nature without getting spoiled. It's a big moment. It's a big moment in the manga. So if you somehow manage to go through like a year or so, over a year at this point, without getting spoiled for Gear 5th, I mean, I guess good on you. I mean, you wouldn't be watching this right now, though. Like, that would be the point. Like, nope, I'm waiting for the episode to come out, and that's that, all right? So, what do we think of Gear 5th at this point? Just, I think enough time has passed now where we can kind of look back and assess, like, was this a good move on Oda's part here, going with Gear 5th? You know, because I remember when it first happened, it's like a lot of other things. Like, when Luffy first went into Gear 4th, a lot of people were like, it doesn't look right, and that's not what I pictured for Gear 4th. I remember when Frankie's post-time skip design was revealed, a lot of people were iffy about that. But, you know, those are first impressions kind of thing, but now it's been some time. So, honestly, the more I think about Gear 5th, not just the design of it, but what it does and kind of like I should not say alters Luffy's personality, because that seems to indicate that like Luffy is not really Luffy anymore. He is. He's 100% Luffy. In fact, that's the best way I can describe it. Gear 5th does not change who Luffy is. It dials Luffy up to 11. That's what it does. You think you got Luffy up until now? No. When Luffy goes Gear 5th, that's true 110% Luffy. You're getting pure undistilled Luffy right there, okay? So, let's go and talk about the form itself a little bit here, okay? So, you know, honestly, not really much changes in Luffy's form when he initially goes into Gear 5th. I remember all the theories out there, like, you know, because Luffy's hair began to change. We saw that in the last episode, and there was a big discussion about resin. I don't think I've heard the word resin be used as much as it did during when all those theory videos were coming out. Like, Luffy's gonna become, like, liquefied rubber, and he's gonna be able to, like, make all these crazy shapes, and the form he's going to go into, it's going to be nuts. So the actual form he goes into is pretty much just like if Luffy were to jump into a bucket of white paint. That's basically all you get. Now, Oda's style does change up whenever he depicts Luffy in Gear 5th. The line work looks a little differently, a little bit more cartoony, as it were. In fact, I'm fairly certain, because Luffy's Gear 5th design is based off of old school rubber hose animation from like the very, very early days of animation, like when animation first started becoming a prominent thing, like, you know, Steamboat Willie, which was like the first Mickey Mouse cartoon. We're talking late 1910s and in the 1920s. So I wouldn't be surprised if Oda went back and watched a lot of old school, like Hanna-Barbera, Disney type stuff as an inspiration for this. So the detail, like the line work, is much more bold. It's much more like prominent when Luffy goes into this form, okay? But in terms of the design, I like the fact that his clothing changes as well. Like his whole body, like his vest turns white, his shorts turn white, his hair, of course, turns white as well. This might also go along with the, do you remember the reason that was given for why Goku, when he went into Super Saiyan, why his hair turns blonde? It's basically just to make the inking easier in the manga, as in you don't really need to do inking, or not as much, obviously, the outline of the hair, because that way, you know, he just has blonde hair, which translates to just white in the manga format. So that's another thing, like it's a trick. Maybe Oda did that, maybe just to make everything a little easier. And you know what? That's actually, if we're going along with that logic, that might indicate that we're going to be seeing Gear 5th a lot more in the story. So maybe Oda wanted to make it easier on everybody. Like Oda could have easily come up with a very complicated looking Gear 5th. Okay, he could have come up with something a little bit more esoteric, a little bit more like bombastic with the way he depicts Luffy's, because this is going to be like his final form, all right? But it's a final form that just lends itself into other forms, right? So he could have done something like that, but maybe Oda's like, I'm gonna go with something simplistic because it fits Luffy's personality, but also it'll just be easier to draw in the future. We're gonna have enough to go on with just all the wacky shenanigans Luffy gets up to while in Gear Gear 5th, so maybe drawing the initial form should be easy, okay? So it really is Luffy being the most free being in the world, okay? That, to me, is way more meaningful, has way more importance than just Luffy being into like this some badass like, you know, Ultra Instinct Luffy or Nine-Tailed Fox Luffy or Devil Form Luffy or something like that. Look, I've talked about this before, so I'm not going to go way into it. But yeah, when you look at other shonen protagonists, there's a couple of underlying themes with not all of them, but, you know, a good chunk of them have this, where their abilities usually hinge on some other being or entity inside of them, in their soul or whatever, that they have to, like, communicate with, that they might not have complete control over. You know, in this case, think Naruto with Kurama in, like, early story. Not even early story, even into Shippuden, when Naruto goes into like his 4 tails form or 6 tail form against Pain. He's like a raging berserker, right? You got Ichigo going into his Vasto Lorde form against Ukiura. You even got like Guts from Berserk, you know, having the Berserk armor when that takes over. He's just a rampager, okay? It's a common trope in manga, and it works in a lot of cases, okay? When you have that other entity inside of you, and the key to understanding and perfecting your power is to communicate with that other entity. Sometimes it's the idea of like when Naruto and Kurama, you know, they're like,
sell to your customers anywhere with Shopify, the commerce platform designed for entrepreneurs. Online, on social, in person, and on the go.
like separate beings that had to just learn how to cooperate like as friends. In the case with Ichigo, and it was his Hollow and his Sanpakuto spirit, it was learning more about himself. In the case with Asta, it was like Lieb is essentially his brother. So like they all have different dynamics in the way that they communicate with these other beings. But the thing is, Luffy doesn't have any of that. Luffy is just Luffy. Luffy doesn't have like an angel or a devil inside of him. Luffy doesn't have like the soul of Joy Boy inside of him. Like, what do you think, Joy Boy? Well, Luffy, I think you should use Gumu Gumu no Bazooka. Okay, that's a good idea. You know, like nothing like that. Luffy, by the way, doesn't even talk. He doesn't even have like internal dialogue to himself most times. Oda even made a point to not include that in the story. Like, Luffy's not like fighting Magellan and it's like, okay, this guy can use poison, so I better make sure to go gear second and avoid his poison and attack from a long range, you know, vantage point or something. Like, no, Luffy doesn't. Luffy's a man of action, man. He just goes for it. And a lot of times that'll bite him in the ass. But sometimes literally, sometimes metaphorically bite him in the ass. But that's Luffy. That's his personality. So I was so happy. One thing that I was so relieved by when Luffy went into Gear 5th, that it wasn't like, I'm Joy Boy now, get ready, Kaido. You know, nothing like that. It's not like some other personality taking him over. It's not even like there's another personality in there. Yes, it was Joy Boy's devil fruit. It was Joy Boy's fruit. That was the point of the power that had it before him. He was the last person to awaken it during the Void Century and all that. But I think that, yeah, you know, zones have wills. They have like an animal spirit inside of them. Luffy might have the spirit of Nika inside of the fruit, but that doesn't really affect his overall personality or anything like that. He doesn't need to like communicate with the voice of Joy Boy or whatever in order to fully understand Gear 5th. It's his power that he refined way. And that's just the way it goes. If we get a flashback to see Gear, I mean, the way that Joy Boy utilized it, because Joy Boy probably didn't call it like Gear 4th, Gear 5th. The form would have been the same form probably, but the way that Joy Boy might have arrived at it, maybe it might have been a little different than the way Luffy arrived at it. You know, I would have really liked that. Like, there's multiple ways to awaken the same fruit. It really just depends on the person that consumes it, okay? Also, let's talk about that for a moment, where Luffy had to literally die in order to awaken this power, because I believe that. I believe, yeah, when Kaido hit him and he went down, Luffy was straight up dead, okay? Now, you could look at this because when you're talking about how you awaken a devil fruit, it's still kind of up in the air. Oda really hasn't given us, like, a clear answer for that. You know, it's kind of like the closest we got is the way Kaido explained it, which was like, you know, you awaken a devil fruit once your mind and your body catch up to your power. It's like, okay, there's a couple of different ways you can interpret that, and it's not really a solid answer. So you could look at, like, paying the ultimate sacrifice, as in when your powers reach a certain apex and you die, and then you can maybe come back from death, and then that's when you truly have awakened your power. Everybody else that's awakened devil fruits, like Katakuri, Doflamingo, Law Kid, you could see them being Kaido as well. You could see them being at a moment where they've, like, died or been on the cusp of death, and then they awaken their powers. You could look at it like that. Or you could look at, like, this is something very specific to Luffy's Hito Hito no Mi, where he needs to die to sort of begin the drums of liberation, the drums of freedom, as it were. Like, his death is symbolic in, like, casting aside the chains, and then boom, he comes back as the most free person to ever exist. You know, and this is represented by the sheer joyousness, the exuberance that Luffy embodies. He's just completely ecstatic and elastic. He's ecstatic and elastic. Yes, absolutely. That is Luffy. It's like childlike wonder with him. And that's the reason why I'm glad Oda did not do, like, the badass angle. You know, like when Gon does the Nen contract, and, you know, he gets like this, he's like super tall and buff, and he's just like Pito. You know, look, here's the thing. If Oda wanted to do that, if Oda wanted to go like the badass Ichigo Vasto Lorde route with Luffy's final form, like Luffy gets defeated by Kaido, and Oda's like, okay, I'm gonna draw Luffy coming back, and his whole body is like covered in really cool hockey tattoos, and his hair is standing up, and he's just like, Kaido, I will defeat you now. Ugh. And then, could have Oda done that? Absolutely. Could he have made it look awesome? Absolutely. Like, the artwork would have been incredible, like seeing Luffy going into this really, like, Gumu Gumu no Dreadnought cannon. Boom! You know, like, that would have been cool. But would it have fit the character? Would it have lined up with Luffy's personality and Luffy's character? Not really, no. In fact, it would have been very jarring. Very jarring, in fact, if Luffy's final form, his Gear 5th, was something like that. If it was like, when I go into Gear 5th, I become all edgy and just, I fight like a berserker, and if I'm not careful, I'll lose myself, you know? It's actually weird because Oda is kind of doing that maybe a little bit, where Luffy is like such on like ecstasy when he's in gear 5th. He's in that state where he's dialed all the way up to 11. Like, it is possible you could see Luffy losing himself in that, because he might not be thinking very clearly. You know, it's just he's so excited to just have fun. Like, everything is fun to him when he's in gear 5th. He's in a state where it's like, I can do anything and I'm going to. Maybe not necessarily thinking about the ramifications of that. Like, remember when he was fighting Kaido and he went into giant form because Luffy's like, wait a second, I feel like I can make myself a giant. And he turns into a giant. He's like, I'm going to step on Kaido. And Kaido just kind of bit him and just like, oh, you just made yourself a bigger target, you know, chomp. And Luffy's like, ow, that hurts. So that's an example of Luffy, like, he's able to do anything, but not everything's gonna work, okay? That's another really salient point I want to drive home here, where Luffy going into gear 5th was not like him pushing the win button. It was the ability, it was the form that was ultimately able to defeat Kaido. Sure, but it took several chapters to do that, and it even faltered at one point, where Luffy's in gear 5th jumping around, and he's just like, yeah, I could fight like this all night. And he's like, oh boy, hold on a second, let me just, I think my heart just stopped. Ah, there it goes. And then he kicks back into gear 5th, okay? So in those few chapters where Luffy was in gear 5th fighting Kaido, we got to really see the positives and the negatives of this. Positives, we get to see Luffy being Luffy in this form where he can literally do anything he wants. Bad news is that's also a double-edged sword, where sometimes he can get ahead of himself, really just going crazy and just like, I'm gonna make myself huge because it looks cool, and then he ends up getting bitten, all right? Also, it indicates that there is a hard time limit on gear 5th. This is not some kind of thing that just goes on interminably, you know what I mean? It eventually will run out of gas. Luffy can restart it. We've seen him do that, but it's kind of a situation, the same thing with, one thing we do know about awakenings, like we saw this with Law and Kid, you can keep pushing yourself to use your awakenings, but it is going to drain your stamina, and also your life expectancy is going to shorten, okay? So Luffy's already kind of done this with gear 2nd and gear 3rd before, and then that one time he went gear 2nd and 3rd at the same time against Moria, and then the healing hormones and Ivankov. I made a whole video talking about Luffy's life expectancy and how it's keep getting shorter and shorter. I'm telling you what, man. When Luffy, you know, got knocked out of gear 5th against Kaido and he was all drained and like shriveled up, when he chose to go back into that form, because Luffy knew that was the only way he was going to be able to beat Kaido, when he chose to do that, that might have shaved a couple years off his life just doing that, okay? I also really appreciate that, yeah, even though Luffy does have this form now, and he definitely prefers to go into it, like when he fought Lucci, he doesn't, it's not just going to be default. It's not just going to be Luffy going into gear 5th default. I think after going into this form a couple times, like twice against Kaido, once against Lucci, I think Luffy's becoming a little bit more aware, and he might not be telling the other Straw Hats this, because like I said, Luffy might not really think about it this way, but like every time he goes into gear 5th, have you noticed, whenever we see the aftermath of this, when we do, Luffy's completely drained, like utterly. Like after he fought Lucci, he was like the shriveled up husk, like, okay, we gotta go to the lab, all right, let's go, you know? So Luffy might begin to realize, like, okay, when I go into this form, I am so excited. Like I'm like a kid at Christmas. I'm just like, yeah, let's fight, yeah. But after it's over, that kickback, it hits you, okay? And so Luffy might be aware of that, and he's like, I gotta be careful going into that form, because that form's cool. It's not indestructible or anything, but it's really cool, and I could fight at my peak. it might even become addicting to Luffy a little bit. Like that idea of like, man, I like feeling like that. I like going into that kind of state of like, you know, exuberance, you know, but if and joyousness, that's like the whole point. But after that, you know, it weakens you. And so when Luffy was fighting against S-Bear, like in the control room, he's going gear 4th now. So Luffy's kind of aware of this and being like, I'm not going to go into gear 5th every single fight, because if I can't finish off the enemy quick enough, I'm not going to be able to fight anymore, okay? And I can restart it, but that might weaken me even more after. Yeah, Oda could have done something cool. We could have had, like, Super Saiyan Ultra Instinct Luffy. He could have drawn it. There's no reason why he couldn't have. But I love this a million times more. I love it because it's also something you don't see much in manga and anime, right? And I get it. Like, the reason why the badass final form is a trope, because it's cool, right? It's cool when Goku went into Super Saiyan 3 or Super Saiyan 4 or Ultra Instinct. It looks cool. It's foreboding. It's intimidating. You know what I mean? I would say Super Saiyan 4 is the most intimidating out of all of that. You know, I love it when Asta goes into his devil form, his devil union. That's cool. Naruto going into like Sage of Six Paths or his Nine Tails form, the cloak, you know, that all looks really cool. It looks badass, but Oda took a completely different approach to this. It's like, it's relying on the reader knowing Luffy's character. Like, okay, it's 100, look at that. 103 volumes of this story where you're following the journey of this little rubber boy. And after 103 volumes, you should pretty well be acquainted with the kind of person Luffy is and how he fights and what he wants in the world, okay? And the idea that you give him this power, which is wacky and silly, if you've read One Piece, you get it. You 100% get why that form is what it is, okay? And yeah, I would like it no other way. I don't think Luffy's going to get anything else beyond this. Luffy will go into a lot of different forms while in Gear 5th, and he'll maybe have to learn how to master it to even a greater extent. But yeah, we're never going to get, like, you know, like anything with, like, Gon in Hunter x Hunter, where, like, Gon just goes into his, like, adult form and just, like, wrecks Pito's shit or something like that. In an alternate universe, in a parallel world, maybe that's the direction Oda took it. And I'm sure it looks badass in that form as well. But for now, we could just, like, leave it up to the fan art.
Come back and get credit for the work you've put in at Purdue Global. With your experience and
artist and everything like that. Oh man, anything else going on here with Gear 5th, man? From what I saw in the preview for the episode, you know, for the next episode, you know, Kaido just getting knocked around and the eyeballs popping out of his head. This is gonna be so surreal. This is gonna be so weird to see. You know, like this more Western kind of style animation in an anime, but it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I love that. That's another thing too. Like, Oda kind of does a thing with this form where he kind of breaks the medium he's in, where he's like, okay, we're in not just a Japanese manga, but also we're in a Japanese manga that's taking place in a location, Wano, which is based off Edo, Japan. Okay, Edo era Japan. And we have a lot of like artwork, like the ukiyo-e paintings and that kind of traditional Japanese art in here. So we have traditional Japanese art in the Japanese manga, and then Luffy goes into a form which is more akin to like early 20th century Western animation. It kind of makes you like at a certain point, like you're like reading something that's kind of like broken the fabric of reality. You know what I mean? Like Luffy going into Gear 5th changed the very tone of what the manga was and the way it's presented to the reader. I like that. that type of shit. I really do. Like whenever you know, there was another there was another manga that did this, and I can't remember which one it was, but there was like a manga at one point where the reality of everything was kind of breaking apart, and like the panels of the manga themselves began to warp and change. Like you're reading that page by page and the panels are like shattering and breaking apart. Okay, and it's like to give the reader the impression that like what they are reading is even changing now because of this form. Can't remember what it was, but there was something like that, right? So I like that Oda going the extra mile and all that stuff. What do you think about Gear 5th now that we've had a little bit over a year to realize it, and now it's happening in the anime finally? We're gonna see a lot more wacky stuff in the future, I am sure. Okay, I think Oda has endless ideas for this moving into the final saga, and it's just gonna get more and
If work ever feels like this, you need Smartsheet, the enterprise work management platform.
Here's the problem with the whole kid thing, and this is why people don't. It kind of bothers them out. It's not a kid issue. It's just fucking Shanks.
You're still willing to use weaker people as an excuse as to why Garp isn't the guy that everyone thinks he is.
No.
Under Kaido, under Big Mom, Shanks, under Blackbeard.
You have to.
So under. Wait.
Let's do this. Question.
Yes. Talk to me.
So, okay, I admit Aokiji is. I think Aokiji is over Garp, but answer me this.
Yes.
You acknowledge that Garp is hanging in there with Aokiji, right?
Yeah, of course, for sure.
Okay, so you would say that even if Aokiji's over Garp, it's not a low diff or a mid diff, it's a high or extreme diff somewhere in
No,
there, right?
of course not. Yeah.
So Garp in your book is top 10, 12, 15, somewhere in there still?
Garp is like, I
Or
think
now?
he's still, I think itself, Garp in like the top, what, like 16, Garp top 15 maybe, because like.
I had him at like 20.
So, no, I had Garp at like, I think 18 or 19, like one of those ranges.
You had him at 19.
Yeah, right, 19, right. I think that someone like Law can bring someone like Blackbeard to a high diff fight, but Blackbeard's like my top 5, whereas Law's like my number 15 spot. Right? It's like Law, and the gap between someone like Kuzan versus someone like, so Kuzan versus Garp is a much smaller gap compared to someone like Law and Blackbeard, but also a tough fight for Blackbeard plus his boys, not all of his boys, but a lot of his boys, versus Law's pirate crew. But also a tough fight for Blackbeard to actually get that W, clearly. So that's why I say
a small gap, right? Like their gap.
Yeah,
is
the
very
gap between
small.
Kuzan and Garp is smaller than the gap between Law and Blackbeard.
The top 15 fighters in general. Like,
yeah, let me see it, 'cause I think I'm on somewhere here. Let me see it.
Based on your list, then.
Yes, sir.
Everything that's been happening right now. Replace Garp with Kid. Is Kid gonna be? Is Kid in the same shape Garp is right now?
Kid's getting packed. It's on.
Maybe. Actually, maybe.
Garp over Kid. Come on, Kid.
No.
Because you had Kid over Garp last year.
Oh yeah, I can like lower Kid like a bit. I'm cool with that.
Oh,
but I think that again, Kid has he has the same bounty as Garp. So here's the problem with the whole Kid thing, and this is why people don't. It kind of bothers them out. It's not a Kid issue. It's just fucking Shanks. That's people don't realize. It's not Kid's issue. It's just
yes.
Shanks. Okay.
Garp is outperforming your expectations.
Wait,
yes.
wait, what happened to the whole Law was carrying the fight and did 80% of the work? Where'd that argument go?
He did. What was the carry? I have Law over Kid.
So of course Kid's gonna get
Big Mom was literally laughing at Kid's attack. She was literally laughing.
Whether it's the Elbaf spear, whether it's the Ragnaroku, whether it's the Divine Departure, it's the same result.
Kid still has a very high durability threshold. That's undeniable. We saw him do that and take all these attacks during Wild Country. That's undeniable.
And
like literally, we saw him take all these moves
because of plot armor.
Not every durability feat has to be a plot armor thing. It could be the case where that Kid is just that naturally tanky of an individual. We know that Kid could literally take Kaido's whole body and then seismic toss that like a Charizard could, okay? Like Kid has some things that are impressive, but Kid doesn't finish off Big Mom, which does not look good for Kid. Like Kid, he has high attack power, but because it's Big Mom, it doesn't seem all that impressive, but it is kind of impressive on paper, right? It's like Kid's attack would wasteland a lot of Hachinoso in a single beam. Honest to God. It's that like Kid's right. It's just that because it was Big Mom, it was like, oh fuck, like it doesn't look all that impressive. But it's Big Mom. She's the durability queen.
Let's establish something. We have seen Yonko, Emperors of the Sea, one shot first level commanders twice in the series. We saw Kaido do this with Luffy, and we saw Shanks do that with Kid. Can we all agree with that?
No.
Okay, we have seen this twice.
No, Kid at that point be like above the commanders. I'd argue. He'd be above all the commanders. I'd argue at that point.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing.
No.
In a general sense, no.
I mean, it depends where you have Long.
Bro. Oh no. I mean, like he'd be above. He above King of Wildfire.
I mean, here's
at the end of the day, outside of Beckman Katakuri, I'd probably
you can have the feats for Kid, but like narratively wise, Kid should be above the commanders.
I would say most of them. Yeah, I would say above most of them for sure.
Also, like the Shanks thing, people forget that, like, you know, if Shanks hit Kid with an actual physical attack, I think Kid would have been fine. But it was the Conqueror's hockey attack that knocked him unconscious.
This is something that I argue as well, Vinny. I have been saying for a while that I think the Conqueror's hockey infused attacks it's not just a different potency of damage, it's a different kind of damage. Okay? This is why Shanks just wiped out Kid. This is why Kaido just trounced Luffy. Luffy even confirms that the reason as to why Kaido knocks Luffy out so many times is because of the Conqueror's hockey infusion.
How powerful do you think that attack is in earnest then? How powerful do you think it is?
Which one?
The Divine Departure that Shanks did against Kid.
I think at max. Maximum, it's as strong as Kaido's Ragnarok.
Okay, so you think it's at Kaido's Ragnarok. So even though we seen Kid go through a list of attacks in Wano Country, so we saw him take stab wounds from Killer. He takes an L-back spear by Big Mom. He takes linear attacks on top of the rooftop, a bunch of hair attacks, all these attacks across the entire spectrum. And then now we even know that he took the attacks from the 3,000 Leagues of Mother Misery. All right, and so that's confirmed by B anime, also in the manga too. Shank's attack surpasses all of them.
Also
combined.
Sovereignty.
So, the Big.
And you think the Ragnarok was on that scale?
We all know Big, as far as Misery goes, we all know Big Mom is a fraud. She couldn't even break Capone's defense for fuck's sake.
No, we know that's not the case at all. We know that's not true. We know that's not true. We know that's not true because she fought against Kaido for like an entire damn day.
You guys
we know it's not true. Okay, so let's say for reference here, City of the Rain is not gonna be able to stab through Big Mom like that. No shot. No shot.
Unless she's in a situation where the mother camera image breaks.
Is about 12 times wider than Shuri's sword is.
You need the mother caramel photo to be from her face, and you break that. Okay, fine, then you can do it.
Hey,
well, Shuri can do it, yeah.
Guess what? Carry the Devon. Mother caramel. Boom.
Oh, do you see what you have to do? Like, do you see what you have to set it up? Garbage gets stabbed.
Big Mom's
Blackbeard pirates are picking up Big Mom way easier than their.
It's over. Garp is fodder. That's all. That's
Once again, Twilight going to like the utmost extremes in a one swell
Wait,
swoop.
Cole, you really
with no one saying this shit. No, that's not how I do it.
Yes,
Wait, how? Where? How is me saying that Big Mom has better durability than Garp equals Garp fodder? How? How?
Yeah, the only person that can compare
because the whole Big Mom argument doesn't matter because that's your counter against what Admiral is saying currently. At the end of the day,
because Admiral is put no.
You're still willing to use weaker people as an excuse as to why Garp isn't the guy that everyone thinks he is.
No, what I'm saying is that Garp is the guy, but the problem is how much of the guy you think he is. Garp we know is strong. But is he stronger than Kuzan 1v1?
Hey, Cole, you know what's crazy?
Well, Cole, that requires you to answer the question. How strong?
Hang on.
Hold on. Well, Cole, to answer that question, you have to then answer how strong do you think Kuzan is?
And like I said before, I think that Kuzan is like barely in my top 10, like number 9
or 10.
Listen, what I was gonna say is, it's like look what happened to Garp in this chapter. I mean, he gets one stab wound from Shiryu, and he takes a punch from Aokiji to the face. And at the end of the chapter, he's on the ground. Kainu took 2 island-shattering blows, got up, got snuck by Crocodile, clashed with Jinbei, fodderized the Von Cop, brushed off Marco and Vista, and then proceeded to fight 14 commanders.
He took the entire chapters of him getting back up. All right, hold on. You're missing context. First of all, Garp took the attack to protect Kobe. It's not like they got one up on him. But also all the commanders that Akainu fought, they all were already fighting for so many hours and were already tired, bro. Come on, none of them were fresh. He didn't fight anyone that was fresh.
And also, to add to Cole's point, the only person in One Piece that can compete with Big Mom's durability is Kaido. Literally.
Right now, yeah.
I would say
Kaido and Big Mom are like the best in durability so far. We have like a few.
I would say Akainu can probably compete with him.
No,
how?
No.
Admiral, did I just hear you right? You said that Akainu's defense is comparable to Kaido.
Yes.
Dude, that's
no. Kaido and Big Mom are literally the only people that are taking like 5 minutes and getting back up.
Bro, scale is on point. Like literally, it's literally said repeatedly throughout the entire Wano country that all these dinosaur f***ers have unusual durability. Akainu gets cut by Marco and Vista on a passing attack. So it doesn't matter. He still said, "Oh wow, I got cut. Annoying ass hockey users." So that happened. Okay, Akainu surviving the attack by Whitebeard doesn't mean he has better durability than someone like Big Mom who can front tank damn near anything.
Yeah, Puncture Village, Shock Village, like, bro, the closest person to Kaido and Big Mom in durability is Luffy.
Yeah, we gotta keep lowering.
I'd agree.
We gotta keep lowering Whitebeard.
What's with the coat? She does that every time we get a great review. People love our reliable, fast fiber internet.
They also love our mobile.
Why are
we have to change the conversation
because that's
Akainu literally took a punch that split an island in half.
Brago,
acting like it's nothing.
Because Brago is 100%. Because Brago's 100% correct. We have to stop attributing shit from Marineford to shit that's happening now. Why do you think that when the chapter happened, people were saying that Old Man Garp was stronger than Whitebeard?
Bro, hold on, time out.
He actually is, though.
We're talking, no. We're talking about a time where we just couldn't see hockey. As far as we know, hockey was used readily throughout the entire damn war. The only thing that really alters, not alters, Whitebeard goes into this whole battle literally with minus HP because he gets stabbed by Squardo. This man, Whitebeard, is nerfed to high heaven, and he's still being a menace on the battlefield. Agreed. That doesn't change no matter what. That pre-time skip, post-time skip, whether we can see hockey or not, that doesn't change.
He's an endurance monster, but his durability is not all that great.
Thank you.
The durability and endurance are not the same thing. Like
Scale, shut up. That was never the point of this argument.
Scale's cooking.
Let's just be honest.
I guarantee you, if
that was never
Galaxy Impact,
Scale's cooking something bad.
No. That was never the argument. The argument was that people say that Garp is now wholesale stronger than Whitebeard during Marineford.
I don't think that he's stronger. I don't think that he's stronger than Whitebeard, but I would say that what he is getting is the treatment that he's getting is comparable. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that he's stronger. I'm not saying that
people underrate both Oldbeard and Garp. That's the problem.
I don't underrate them. But the thing is, do you really think, like, let's keep it real? Do you think that if Law did a puncture Vili or a shock Vili on Whitebeard, he's getting back up from that?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Yes. You're talking about the puncture Willy, dude. Whitebeard's chest got pumped and filled with magma, and half his skull got torn off. You could see his brain probably, and he kept pushing, bro.
We could solve this issue easily. Like, where would you put Old Man Whitebeard in the top 30 right now?
Over Big Mom, probably under Big Mom, for sure.
Under Kaido, under Big Mom, under Blackbeard.
You have to.
So under wait. So Scale says, you're saying that Whitebeard's under every current or every Yonko that we saw before Wano Country.
Under Kaido, under Big Mom, under Shanks, under current Blackbeard, and under current Luffy at the bare minimum. At the bare minimum.
There it is.
Yeah, under current Luffy, yes.
There it is.
There it is.
And I would say that there's a good argument that you could put Old Whitebeard under current Mihawk, under current Dragon, and under current Akai. There's an argument. I'm not saying that,
Dragon, we have nothing on Dragon.
Hold on.
Current Mihawk.
Dragon Rainbow Blackbeard.
No. Let him cook. Wait. Let him cook.
So that means that I would put Whitebeard roughly where, Aokiji, Kizaru, Fujitora, Green Bull are
current Admiral,
right? You're telling me Old Man Whitebeard is equal to Green Bull? You need to get the hell out of here.
Whitebeard is
I am not saying that he's
the only Yonko.
No. He's saying that he'd be equal or comparable to, let's say, someone like a older school admiral. So he'd be comparable to a Kainu himself.
No, he's like Green Bull.
Back in the pre-time. I missed that.
He's creditless. Get him out.
I didn't say that.
What are we on about?
Wait, wait on. Scale. Did you say Green Bull or no?
So that means that I would put Whitebeard roughly where, Aokiji, Kizaru, Fujitora, Green Bull are
current admiral, right? Scale. Did you say Green Bull or no?
I said roughly on the same level as like Aokiji or Kizaru.
Stop the cap.
So like top 10.
No, you said Green Bull.
You said
Green Bull.
I hear Green Bull talking in the past.
Hold on. Let me speak. You're not letting me speak.
Like even chat's on you right now. You said
it's a yes or no question.
Hold on.
You're not saying yes or no.
I acknowledge that Fujitora and Green Bull are below Aokiji and Kizaru. I'm not arguing that. Okay? I'm saying that
low
Whitebeard should be roughly around where Aokiji or Kizaru are today. That's what I'm saying.
That's crazy, dog.
I just want to say,
like 9 or 10. Like 9 or 10 at the bare minimum.
Is this the Whitebeard that was holding back, or this the Whitebeard no giving? I'm just murdering people if I feel like
it's up to you. It's the same man. It's the same man. No, hold on. It's Old Beard from Marineford. Okay, the old and sick man. I'm giving him top 10 status. He's like 9 or 10 bare minimum. He could be higher. Okay.
What? That makes no sense.
He's
how doesn't that make sense?
So let me put this right, and I think I see where Sale's going here. I mean, he's going further than me, but I think that his path is kind of the same. Whitebeard. Goes into Marineford as the weakest Yonko. I agree with that. I think that's absolutely the case. I think he's absolutely, without a doubt, the weakest Yonko. I think that Big Mom, I think that Kaido, I think that Shanks, I think that even current Whitebeard do better in Marineford War than Whitebeard does. Absolutely. And the fact that other characters, even Marco and Crocodile, were clowning on Whitebeard, saying, "What the is happening? You're not the same." My guy, like, you're not the same dude. What happened? What happened to you, man? How can this be possible? And then